A trip to the library is never a brief encounter for me. As a teenager, I spent a great deal of time in the library. When I was 14, literally every day I would get home from school and get on my bike and pedal to the library just for another fix of books.
Nerd!
A lot of that time was obviously spent reading, but a big chunk of it was spent endlessly sailing across the sea of information, casting a wide net hoping for something substantial to get caught up in the tow. It's honestly overwhelming to me to be around so many books at once. And I have to be careful when I go into libraries and bookstores. No joke, on a handful of occasions I've spent 6 hours at a Barnes & Noble, and I don't even work there. Say, aren't you the owner of this bookstore?
You are the caretaker. You've always been the caretaker.
Speaking of my teen years, I ended up reading a lot of comic books during that time. I won't pretend to be an expert because of the abundance of comic book devotees more knowledgeable than myself on the web, but I read my fair share. And one that really stuck with me was the Teen Titans. In grade school, I watched the original TV show, and as a teen, I graduated to the more grown-up comic books. In Teen Titans issue 2, a character named Bart Allen, or Impulse, who is the original Flash's grandson, gets separated from the group and is cornered by Deathstroke, who I would argue is on par with the Joker when it comes to DC villains. Deathstroke temporarily immobilizes Impulse with a tranq dart and tells him kids shouldn't wear costumes, before destroying his knee with a shotgun at point-blank range. He's rushed to the hospital where the doctors find out that his metabolism moves so fast that he also heals at an accelerated rate, but inaccurately. So they have to repeatedly cut into him and break his knee over and over again in order to set his knee properly. Before the rest of his friends can get there, Impulse decides to take some time to himself, and he runs to the San Francisco library to really think. When he gets there, he uses his super speed to quickly read every single book in just 20 minutes. In fact, he even guesses that he was moving so fast that from his perspective, he spent a relative year and a half in the library. Reading this over a decade ago, I got really fascinated with the idea of marathon speed reading. And I wanted to know, realistically, how long would it take one human being to read an entire library? But only in the past couple years have I decided to really sit down and do the math. First, we need to define some terms. Every library and book collection is different, so let's just work with some averages. According to a 2013 survey of 1,262 libraries across the US, the average library holds about 706,751 books. And according to editor Chuck Sambuchino of Writer's Digest, an average novel is about 85,000 words. Accounting for various different genres and formats, Sambuchino's numbers dipped a few thousand below that number and a few thousand above. I'll link his article in the description, but for our purposes, let's assume that the average book is 85,000 words. Multiply the books of the average library by the word count of the average book, and you get the average word count of a library, about 60 billion words. After that, you divide by the reading speed of the average adult, about 300 words per minute. To make the math easy, let's assume that you start reading at January 1st, 2018, right at midnight. If you took no breaks, you would be finished by 7:16 p.m. on Christmas Eve. 2398. All told, it would take you just shy of 381 years just to finish. But what if the fastest non-superhero person on Earth tried the same thing? Anne Jones is the 6-time winner of the World Speed Reading Championship. She's also known for walking into a Borders at the release party for the last Harry Potter book, and reading the whole thing in 47 minutes. Later giving a very thorough review to Sky News to prove that she wasn't faking it. Her speeding read clocks in at an astounding 4,252 words per minute. If she sat down with you at that mystical library that's open 24 hours a day, she would only need 37 years, finishing her reading load at 4:15 p.m. November 19th, 2044. So just how fast would you have to read to keep up with Impulse? Impulse stepped into the main branch of the San Francisco Library, which recent reports say holds 1.9 million print books in its walls. If we accept his estimate of 1.5 years of relative time, that would put his reading speed from his own perspective at 211,499 words per minute. But no one else was moving with him at the time, so let's go with the real-time number of 20 minutes. This means that from the point of view of the other Titans, Impulse would have been reading at over 8.3 billion words per minute. Almost 2 million Ann Joneses. I think that's the official unit. Well, I guess I'm never going to read a full library. It's time to move on to another goal. Nice.